Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week is going to be the Gold Hoarder episode where I am talking with the Gold Hoarders about the Season 15 launch, what they think about it, some thoughts that they have as far as like the new Megalodons, the Hunter's Call expansion, all that and more on this week's episode of the Keelhauled podcast. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to support this content and join me on this week's episode. So if you are in that captain tier, you are welcome to jump into the Keelhauled episodes. It is once a month, and we do cover the news as far as their perspective goes to make sure that folks hear more than just my own opinions on these things. So I like to shout them out every episode just to let them know that I appreciate their support, because it really does help. It really does take care of the bills when it comes to podcasting, the software that I use, all the hosting, all that jazz. So I appreciate it. It means the world to me. So thank you to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davrim TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kylia the Aficionado, Mr. Blizzard, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Shoe Daddy 13, Scamelt 666, Tommy D, TN Professor, Vibralux, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and wow. Yeah, I went that whole time. Hope you guys are having a good week. Make sure you're out there killing megalodons and getting the last hits. And just to remind you, there is a Twitch drops. I've been doing the Twitch drops for everyone on stream. I've been streaming over on YouTube and on Twitch. Those do have a 10-day expiration date. Godhammer reached out to me today and wanted to make sure that I got that. Cora is pushing the microphone, so I better get over to the actual episode before I can't use the microphone anymore. So with that, let's get into it. Welcome everyone to the, February Gold Hoarder episode. We're going to be joined by quite a few folks today to sit down and talk about the latest Season 15 update, letting everyone know about what they think about the new Megalodons, the expansion to Hunter's Call. We're going to be going through some of the patch notes just to kind of give folks kind of a baseline for what happened with the update. In case you haven't heard, I'll probably be covering this more in detail in next week's episode. But I wanted to get everyone's thoughts and feelings on this because I'm sure everyone has questions, comments, concerns. We've already been talking a little bit about that before we actually jumped into recording. So before I get into any of that, as always, I want to go down the list of who's joining us so you can get an idea of what their name is and the voice that they offer. So as always, starting from the top and going down, we're going to start off with A-Chick. How are you doing, A-Chick? Welcome to the stream or the chat.
Hey, I'm good. Second time on. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Next up, we've got Godhammer. Godhammer, welcome back.
Hello. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. How are you?
I am getting through it, as a lot of us are.
Yeah, work is fun. Next up, we've got Regis. Regis Stella, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing good, doing good. Been playing Sea of Thieves as well as the new pirate game that came out just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I've been seeing you've been sharing the music video for the for Yakuza Talk Like a Pirate.
Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Long title, I know, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. Next up, we have first timer Shoe or Shoe Daddy. Welcome, Shoe.
Appreciate it. Long time listener, first time caller.
Glad to have you. And joining us again is Static Mirror. Static, welcome back.
Good to be back. It's been a couple months since the lovely people of Keelhauled got to hear my lovely voice.
And the most opportune time this is the best opportunity for us to get those crystal pigs.
We will talk about that later.
Okay. All right. Well, to kind of get things kicked off, we are kicking off with season 15, Wild Things from Rare. And there has been a noticeable amount of content that is released both at the start of this and promised to be coming later on in the season. But to kind of kick things off, they have expanded the Hunter's Call. We've been talking about this for a while now, just with the actual little notes that have been kind of strewn about ship Sharkbait Cove. And now that we have kind of Hunter's Call included with the emissary list of companies that you can now fly a flag for, it's interesting to kind of see what they've done with this, having all of the experience and knowledge and history with the past trade companies and what they've kind of shown. And to be honest, I'm kind of impressed with how they went about developing this trading company with all of that history. So the quest table now offers a range of voyages on demand for the Hunter's Call, allowing crews to sail or dive to their location. There's new fishing voyages providing hunters with locations of treasured fish where they gather near islands, tasking them to retrieve the new fish for the company. The treasured fish caught from these voyages are unique and highly valuable, so they cannot be cooked, eaten, or stored in a player's inventory. They can be handed in for gold and reputation, but beware, they can also be stolen by other pirates. The Hunter's Call raid voyages allow players to experience any of the 8 existing raids on demand, while awarding new Hunter's Call treasures. So, to kind of kick things off, I wanted to get everyone's kind of initial thoughts so far. If you've gotten a chance to jump into season 15, is this been fun for you? How's performance? And are you jumping into the Hunter's Call kind of stuff? So starting from the top, let's go down. Chick, any thoughts that you want to share so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much having the same performance issues that I did before. Some servers are a little smoother than others, we've noticed. I know you feel the same way about that. I am getting a lot of black screens. And that was something that I had before the new season as well. Hopefully it's resolved. I know it's on the list, but it's not that priority. But other than that, I do enjoy fighting the Megs. That's probably one of my favorite things to do. I do feel that they are a little overpowered, but we'll see if they nerf them at all in the future.
Yeah, I know we've had kind of a weird trial and error to trying to determine like what's going on with the server stability, and it doesn't feel like it's anything nearly as bad as the rubber banding that we used to have, but it does feel like there's a bit of a jitter, and it's not something that's tied to frame rates. But we did get some news from Drew from the last developer update. He actually advised for PC players to lock the frame rate at either 30, 60, or 120, even though there's 144 hertz options. I tried this. I felt like I was getting moderate success at 120. I feel like 144 is still even a little bit better, but I'm definitely nowhere near the 180 that I would prefer to have. But it's been kind of interesting to try and trial and error. And I always feel like it's kind of chalked up to anecdotal experience, just given the number of variables.
Yeah, I changed my FPS. I went from 144, as you know, with my new monitor down to 120, and I didn't notice a difference. I still had the jittery, rubber bandy feeling here and there.
Yeah. It's hard to know like who's having a smooth experience out there.
And I feel like that first server we were on yesterday was pretty smooth, and as soon as we dove to a different server, it just like the stability was bad. And I don't know if it's just because maybe the server populated more that we were on or what.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I almost wish we didn't have to have dived off of that initial server that we were on yesterday.
Yeah.
Godhammer, any thoughts or feelings going into the season so far? I know you've been playing quite a bit, as much as you can.
I have thoughts, but I'm actually more curious to hear Regis's thoughts. He and I dove down, went to fight the barnacled dread together, and I kind of want to hear what he has to say first.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Well, Regis, having gotten a chance to check out the new Megalodon, does it feel like old times? Does it feel like the Hungering one? What are your thoughts?
I haven't played the Hungering Deep before because I got the game around about June, so and I'll have to say if this is what the Megalodon was like back in the day, back when it first released, I'm like, Well, now I know. Now I know how all you guys feel when it came to fighting the Hungry One originally, like 7 years ago. Now, just with the armor, it's just so hard to just crack it, and the soft underskin, air quotes, is just taking pounding after pounding. Yeah, like what H6 said, like it's a bit overpowered, but it is manageable. But then we got jumped with the one and a skeleton sloop afterwards.
Oh man.
Sure, more loot, but just Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get Kraken at that point. That would have been disastrous.
So talking about the Barnacle Dread, the interesting thing that I've kind of found about that is that we do have new mechanics with some of these new ones, and I'm curious, kind of going back to you, Godhammer, do you think that this is kind of overpowered? Do you feel like it's a little too hard for folks?
I think it's difficult, and that's great. I want this to stay as it is. This is the first time in a long time that I've felt threatened by a environmental enemy, and that's fantastic. We were in the middle of a fight between, well, we horned in on some sloop doing the dread earlier, and it got incredibly dicey in that fight. We were in a at like two situations 2 or 3 seconds away from sinking to the combined power of the dread and the ferocity of the sloop trying to stop us from horning in on their thing, and it was a blast. I think that having fearsome PvE threats is a beautiful change of pace. I love these things. I love the dread as it is. I haven't found the red maw yet, but I love this as it is. I think a hard PvE threat is good and necessary. And I implore you, Rare, do not tone this one down. I like this. I like this challenge. This is great.
Godhammer, would you feel differently as a solo slooper fighting one of those?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
I think that as a solo slooper, there's not a whole lot of challenges that I can go into in this game and actually feel challenged by, because I can do a ghost fleet alone. I can do any skeleton fleet, it's not a problem. I want, this feels like it will have a sense of accomplishment to complete as a solo, and it's going to be difficult. I'm under no illusions that I'll probably sink to this thing a few times before I crack the code, but I am looking forward to trying to crack the code alone as it is. I was told, I didn't see it myself, but Fuzzy took out the Dread twice alone, and that's impressive, just based on what I've had to fight through as a duo and a brig crew.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is something that is soloable. I know that there are, I think this is kind of a mentality that I need to address with myself, but there aren't too many times, I think, in Sea of Thieves these days where I have stuff sink me. And I think that's a point of pride and a point of ego that I need to make sure that I keep in check, because it's definitely an issue where I expect things to be manageable, given how long I've been playing the game. And this is definitely the first time in a long time. I would say the Fort of Fortune was the last time that I actually felt like I was going to lose to PvE. There's a couple of times where I've been in a bad spot with a couple skeleton fleets from time to time, or if I was fighting an Ashen Lord solo, but by and by, the scaling that they've had for the world events is something that I think is doable with a decent amount of ease on a solo sloop. But this is the first time I think A-Chick and we went to do a Red Moss solo. Hadn't really thought about it, but we didn't really stock up too much. And by the end of the fight, we finished it. But there was definitely a point where we were down to our last planks. And if you want to go into these, you really should consider stopping by a sea fort and grabbing the supplies from a sea fort, because it's going to be the difference between sinking and like scraping by kind of thing. I do want to get into Shu and Static's thoughts as well too. So Shu, next on the list, engaged with the Hunter's Call emissary. Have you gotten a chance to jump in and check out the megalodons yet?
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with Godhammer for the most part. It's really challenging, but it's a refreshing kind of challenging where world events don't usually draw my attention unless there's something else going on at this point. I've done enough of them. They're easy enough that even as a solo, like, it's just not as challenging, and it doesn't bring that satisfaction of, yay, I did this myself. But like doing the Barnacle Dread by yourself is a ton of fun. Feared Red Maw, I haven't had a chance to do by myself yet. I feel like that would be a little bit more of a challenge, and will probably end up in Harry's situation that probably leads to a sink the first few times that I do it, because I mean, it's very easy to get caught in that rep bail. Oh, I don't have time to get my cannons off. I guess I'm gonna go rep and bail again because he just bit me and set the whole ship on fire.
Yeah, it is quite a sight. A-Chick and I danced around a Red Maw where a level 1 Reaper brig was engaging with it. And my mentality was I wanted to make sure that the aggro was on the brig. So we just kind of hovered, kind of vultured around it for a little bit, let them get a few bites. And as soon as the brig's masts were down, we kind of like sailed in, started laying waste to the brig, tried to keep the Meg off of us, and took advantage of how strong they are, and ended up working to our advantage, not only with the brig, but a sloop that had sailed into us as well too. So it's quite a fight, and it's definitely something that's going to catch people off guard the first few times. Static, have you gotten a chance to jump in? What are your thoughts so far? Initial impressions?
Yeah. So I'm about halfway done with a lot of the new accommodations for the fishing already. That's about all I've been doing. I've been just knocking all them out right away. Did not get a chance to face any of the Megs, but I did creep on another galleon from a distance. It was very entertaining to sit there for about 30 minutes watching through a spyglass at this galleon that I could have swore should have sank twice, but it live. And then watching the Barnacle Dread finally get defeated and seeing that massive lightning bolt that comes from the sky and hits it, that was really kind of cool. But I play on Xbox, so personally, I haven't noticed any difference with the server stuff, as in haven't really had any problems. Like everything's been going pretty smoothly for me on Xbox for the last couple of days, and that's not something I can typically usually say. Usually at least once a day, twice a day, like I'll either get a screen freeze or I'll just randomly get booted and it will hit me with a long beard or something like that. I don't know, but I haven't had any of those issues, and I've been making lots of gold off of selling these treasured fish. By the way, if anybody doesn't know, do not sell these fish to sovereigns. You will get literally half the price of what they're worth.
Yeah, that is something that two things that I would like to call out. You are still getting the reputation and gold bonuses that the Hunter's Call were offering after they had noticed that the sovereigns were taking fish. They bumped up their return on the investment for turning stuff into them. So if you do have any treasure for Hunter's Call, you literally have like twice as many places to be able to turn in their treasure, which I actually kind of like. There's been a few times where we've gotten some stuff for Hunter's Call, and A-Chick and I will swing by a sea post on our way to an outpost and turn stuff in there.
I guess my only little thing I kind of don't like is that you can raise and lower the emissary for the Hunter's Call in 15 different locations. Every outpost has one, and every sea post has one as well. I think that's a bit much for raising and lowering the emissaries.
So I'm kind of curious to kind of hear your reasoning on that. Is there anything in particular that kind of strikes you as that being too many?
Yeah. So all the emissaries can be raised at outposts only, except for Reapers. Reapers obviously has their one little extra island, but the fact that there's 7 outposts and 8 sea posts, that's 15 different locations. So it's going to be kind of hard to cash in a level 5 flag when at all points in time in the game, you are not very far away at all to lower your flag and prevent somebody from, getting that flag to hand in. I mean, if you just want the ultimate pirate move is deny somebody of something, you would literally run away and just at least lower the flag. And you now have 15 options out of all the islands and everything in the game to do that at. And I think that's a little too much. I think they should have left the emissaries specifically to outposts.
Interesting. I appreciate the point there. I'll kind of open it up to A Chick and Godhammer as 2 of our more PvP focused gamers. Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that they need to implement something similar to the Burning Blade where you have to be uncontested if you want to lower your emissary flag? Like, is that balanced enough?
I think he's got a pretty good point, because if I'm chasing a grade 5 and they have all of these options to go lower, especially at a sea post, given they don't have to, either shoot over or run the entire post to get there, it's easier for them to lower. I can see that point, but I don't necessarily know where I would put them. Maybe I would probably keep them just at sea post.
So you think you would have to go venture out to a sea post if you wanted to start off on Hunter's Call?
I mean, if they were going to change it because of that, I'd say that's probably the best place to do it.
I wonder if...
because Reapers has their own island, right?
Yeah.
So the sea post, they have their own post, so just keep it there.
So I'll toss it back to Static. Static, do you think having just the 8... Wait, is it 8? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 locations being a viable option as opposed to being able to raise and lower emissaries at outposts?
I mean, that would be a fair trade-off, but then it would kind of defeat the purpose of having the emissary representative at all the outposts. So I guess maybe a trade-off, in my personal opinion, could be if you're going to have the emissary representatives at the outposts, then you can only hand the fish in at the sea post or sovereigns. But no one's going to do that in their right mind.
Yeah, I feel like the struggle there is the benefit of sailing to an outpost to end your session or to turn in other stuff is having, because similar with Reapers has Bob hanging out in the cage, and you can at least turn in like some Reaper specific stuff to him, like books and flags, I think are the only ones. In a sense of fairness, should Bob be accepting more than just the flags and the books? Should he be able to take the Reaper bounty and Reaper chests to kind of even it out for Hunter's Call? Or do we need to kind of judge whether or not the emissaries should only be for like turn-ins for fish and no emissary access, and they're just a turn-in point? I
would agree. Having Bob at least take the Reaper chests and maybe the gifts that don't exist anymore in the game would be fair. I can't tell you how many times I've had a C session and like right when you get done, you're like, oh, that's right, we still have that bounty chest. I don't want to go all the way to Reapers. Leave it on the dock for somebody else. And then you just log out.
Yeah. I definitely, Godhammer, I'm curious what you're thinking.
I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to get the weird clones off of the sea posts out of there. We need to get those weird remnants of what used to be, because now they're all on the outposts. Who are these doppelgangers hanging out on the sea post? There's only 2 acceptable doppelgangers in this game. That's Larina and the Mysterious Stranger. I don't know who these other guys are, but we need to get them off the sea posts. Too weird.
Shu, you got some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Mostly because I don't know if any of you have checked, but my shipmate and I noticed it. You can't access the Hunter's Call store on the sea posts anymore. You have to go to an outpost to access the store now.
Interesting. I could have swore. Well, hang on, because I bought my flag from Derek on the finest trading post.
Maybe we were just bugged out, but both of us tried at multiple sea posts yesterday and could not get into the Hunter's Call store to buy our promotions.
Interesting.
That could be a similar bug to what I had, where I couldn't even access the store at the outpost, at one of the outposts. So it's,
That's
could just
true.
be a bug.
Yeah. Because as far as I know, to Godhammer's point, they are kind of clones. I still maintain that they are skeletons using a mimic dart, but what do I know?
I mean, twins are a thing. Maybe everybody in the Merrick family.
You're breaking up a little bit there. You're saying maybe everyone in the Merrick family has a twin?
Yes.
Godhammer, your rebuttal?
Fascinating gene pool in the Merrick family. As a side note, I think it would just be funnier to make Jonah at the Wild Treasure Store even lonelier.
Oh God, don't do that. I think it would be interesting, honestly, if I don't agree that they should have had the NPCs that were on the sea posts representing the hunter call on the outposts. I think it should have been different people. I think it should have just been family that have been like friends of the family or something like that. It goes against what the initial Merrick family had said, like when they were first introduced, that they didn't feel comfortable or that they wanted to be on outposts. Yet here they are. And I know that that's kind of been addressed a little bit, but it just doesn't feel natural given the kind of core instinct or core value that the Merrick family had forever ago. I also want to address and I can't remember if I said this, but I know that at least with the Megalodons, if you're curious how to get to the Megalodons, you do have to get your emissary grade up to rank 5. And you do have to buy those flags from the representative. Now, as we were just discussing, there has been some weird issues going on with accessing that stuff. So don't forget, you do have to be, I believe it's level 15 with Hunter's Call to be able to get access to the flag. It's either 15 or 25. I can't quite remember. But you do need to have access to that flag. You do need to get it up to 5. And then you just look on the map for the little marker to be able to determine where the Megalodons are going to be. The respawn rate is pretty good, but I will say that if you're working towards the commendations and the Bilge Rat adventures, be aware that they are currently bugged. So if you're going into a Megalodon fight and they are contested with another crew there, even if you're working with that other crew, even if you've landed shots on that Megalodon, you're only going to get credit for that Megalodon if you get the killing blow, your crew per se. So I know A-Chick and we were noticing we had 2 contested Red Moss. Both died, but neither of us got credit in the commendation, even though it listed it in the milestones that we had vanquished the Red Maw. I tweeted to Drew Stevens about this on Twitter. He responded that the team is aware and they're looking into it. So keep an eye on your milestones. When they announce that there is this, it's either intended or that they are implementing a fix, make sure that you take a look at your milestones, jot down how many barnacled dreads and red maws that you have killed, and put in a ticket to make sure that you get credit for those in the commendations, because that should have applied if it counts for milestones, in my opinion. Also, we're changing the names. Red Maw is now Big Red, and the Barnacle Dread is Barney.
I stand by that.
Any objections? All right. I will take the silence as complaints. Going into the Hunter's Call, Static, you brought up a really interesting point. Fish, the treasured fish, are worth a lot. And I've been very happy with this. It is kind of weird that when I fish up one of these treasured fish, and I drop it into the water, it just floats. Anybody else rub up against that, or is that just me?
I mean, technically that's what dead fish do. They float to the surface.
So they
He's not wrong.
No, it's just sleeping. It's just sleeping.
Oh,
It's
God.
sleeping.
It's sleeping.
If I do have a little complaint about it, I personally will admit that it's too easy. The little quest that they give you to get these fish is too easy. You're not required to use any type of special bait. Now, I understand all these treasured fish are just different colored variants of the ones that already exist, which is pretty cool in itself, actually. But I think you should be required to use the correct bait to catch the normal versions of those types of fish to reel in these ones. Because you don't need a bait. You just throw an empty hook out there and they just instantly lunge for it. And I feel like it's too easy. Like I ended up knocking out probably 5 or 6 of these quests within a 45-minute span with no problem, because it wasn't difficult to reel them in. Actually, a trophied fish is still harder and takes longer to reel in than these treasured fish. And on top of that, you still have to have a specific type of bait based on what you're going for. So I just think that maybe they should, God, I'm going to hate myself for saying this, make it a little bit more challenging than just sailing out, collecting 6 fish, coming back, and then you're already at grade 4.
Yeah. It's interesting. To your point, I see where you're coming from. I would be questionable if Rare would want to try and or make this a little more complex than it needs to be, given that I think that the intent here is no different than Gold Hoarder, for example. We'll take a Gold Hoarder voyage. Gold Hoarder voyage, you've got 2 levels, a long and a short. When you do a dive to a short one, it's typically 1 to 2 digs, right? And then a longer one is like 3 to 4. I think the intent here is to try and keep these fishing voyages as accessible as possible to keep engagement with them at a decent rate. I'm surprised at how much gold you actually get for them, though. I think the gold is significantly better than what you would get from a standard or an equivalent Gold Hoarder or Order of Souls voyage, but maybe I'm off on that.
That's fair. You do get quite a bit of gold from this, but to counteract that progression bar still barely moves. Out of all the fishing and all the accommodations that I've actually already knocked out for this new hunting stuff, I've only progressed 1.5 levels.
Yeah. Are you buying your levels from Lorena?
No, because I honestly forgot about that.
So I kind of want to address this too. I would say, because I would assume that you're at level 50 with Hunter's Call.
51.5, but I'll take it.
Yeah. But effectively, when we kick these all off, most of us were probably capped at 50.
Probably.
Do you think that the progression that you're seeing now is equivalent to what it would be if you were to start at level 50 for like Reapers or Gold Hoarder? Or do you feel like it needs to be a little stronger in the progression for the level of fishing or the level of voyage that you're being asked to accomplish?
So I have 2 thoughts on this. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does need to be better. Or if the distinction levels didn't go up to 500, like every other faction out there now, I would say keep it the same. But it goes up to 500. Like, let's increase this, because at this rate, it's gonna take for absolutely ever. And I don't think they're gonna keep people in the game long enough to go to 500 for Hunter's Call if it's going at the slow rate that it is now. Like, we all thought the Athena's grind was really bad back in the day. I would argue that the fishing grind is worse than Athena's right now.
So one thing that I do want to toss out there is we still have yet to see what the hunting of boars is going to look like. And we don't have any commendations to give us an idea on how much we have to hunt those down, what kind of treasure they offer, what that treasure is worth, what that treasure and reputation is worth. We still have a little bit of information based on how those are going to work. Godhammer, you got some thoughts?
At the moment, yeah, it's a little slow just doing fish. The gold is good. I'm just gonna wait and see until we get all the voyages to see what the rep comes out to like. I did a Fort of Fortune last night, and I don't think we got any Hunter's Call loot out of that off the top of my head. So yeah, when you go out and do like just standard world events, it doesn't seem like it gives you any like new Hunter's Call loot to go along with the existing loot. So that does eat into the progression for that. But again, we haven't seen what the boar voyage or the megalodon hunting voyage will look like, and so I'll just wait and see what progression looks like after those come out, and then we can revisit it. It's not an unfair criticism.
So Regis, Shu, Achik, we haven't heard some thoughts from you guys in a bit. Anything you guys want to chime in here with as far as like the treasured voyages and the fishing voyages? Are you happy with them? Do you think they're awarding too much, not enough reputation or gold?
I mean,
To be
they're
honest,
they're
I didn't
fine.
even-
No, sorry, chick.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the active fishing is like pretty easy considering, like, it's fishing and who in the and what the average, you gotta keep in mind the average player, like the average player in Sea of Thieves is never gonna equip their bait, or let alone know that bait exists in Sea of Thieves, so they're just gonna go fish without bait, so they just do the bait thing. We'll say that if what Static says is true about turning Hunter's Call fish to the sovereigns at a discounted price, then I'm like, okay, then maybe the GMU's like trying not wanting to deal with stinky fish or something like that. But yeah.
Should you go ahead and jump in?
So I don't have a problem with selling at a discounted rate to the sovereigns for Hunter's Call, mostly because it keeps with the tradition of Hunter's Call prior to the update.
And you said that you'd gone out to go double check on the Sea Post store as well?
Yes, yeah, I double checked the Sea Post. North Star has access to the store. I'm honestly not going to sail around to all of them right now and check, but hopefully it was just a bug yesterday. But like I said, we had no access to the store at any of the Sea Posts that we went to yesterday. So
interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering if just the initial launch was just having some issues with some of the server access, because I know I was trying to access my reputation pane, and it was not loading. It just, the number of times I would back out and back in, couldn't get my reputations to load for the life of me. Chick, I know you had some thoughts too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't really have an opinion for or against, where you sell them or whatever. I mean, I kind of have PTSD from getting Legendary Hunter a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So I just honestly just want to get these commendations knocked out so I don't ever have to fish again. And I just want to steal them.
Well, it's a lot easier now for sure. Having the giant fish hanging out on the top deck of a ship kind of reminds me of like when you see those tuna sailing fish or tuna boats out there, and they've just got like the piles of fish on their top deck. Feels a lot more realistic than stuffing a giant stormfish in my pocket that just disappears and then I can just instantly crunch it whenever I want. Going into the other aspects of this, we are expected to get more voyages for the Hunter's Call that will hopefully kind of round out more of the commendations for them. At the moment, I think I am finished with a good handful. I won't say like all of them, but definitely enough to where I was like, okay, we're pretty much down to Seafort loot, Megalodon loot, and raid loot before I could really kind of knock off most of the commendations for the Hunter's Call and get that rounded back out. But looking at how they've done some of the raid loot, they have gone in and actually made it so that you can't look into the raids vaults anymore. So if you were to sail to a Fort of the Damned or a Skeleton Fort or a Fort of Fortune, you'll no longer be able to look into the vault to determine what kind of treasure is in there. And one of the interesting things that I thought about this was actually because Drew Stevens had actually addressed this over on X, where he had stated that they didn't want to tip their hand too early about this. But he says, I won't spoil too much here, but the reason is because we'll soon be playing with the loot inside fort vaults. Being able to drive by and easily check the vaults would ultimately discourage them from being contested. We want to see these pop off. My initial thought here, and maybe you guys are kind of following on the same tracks with me, is that the Chest of Fortune is no longer going to be a set world event each season, and that they are probably going to be looking with the option to hide the treasure in vaults, that they will now have an opportunity to spawn a Chest of Fortune, and that
I like that idea.
That would probably address. Yeah, so I'm already hearing you guys liking the idea of like having more relevance for events. So kind of going down the line, what do you guys think? Good change, bad change? You think they should move through with that?
I do. I mean, if they're gonna, I never really liked the idea of the Chest of Fortune being moved from the fort, and I just didn't. I felt like if they were gonna have a traveling chest, it should be separate, in my opinion. But if they're going to continue to just move it and you're not gonna know where it is, then that'd be great.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Where did they say that they're gonna do that? I didn't see that.
So to give a little more context, on the patch notes, it says hidden skeleton fort vaults. So the vaults beneath all skeleton forts, including the Fort of the Damned, have been hidden, with players no longer being able to see through the cracks from the floors above to spy the vault treasures waiting to be claimed. And then one of the folks on X commented about how they weren't sure how that they feel about that change. And that was when Drew came and said that the reason for doing it is they are going to be playing around with the variety of loot that could be in there, which I think is honestly kind of like a good idea. They need to kind of change things up a little bit.
Yeah, but did they say specifically that they were uncoupling the Chest of Fortune from certain world events, or?
No, that is purely my speculation, which is why I wanted to kind of throw that to you guys to see if that would be a good idea or a bad idea.
I am all for them changing up what loots inside the skeleton forts, especially if it leads to improvements for Molten Sands Fortress, the red-headed stepchild fort. I desperately want reasons to go back there because it is the best looking fort aesthetically, bar none. So hopefully this leads to improvements for Molten Sands. I don't know that I want it uncoupled from like the Fort of Fortune, because I think the Fort of Fortune is the ultimate sort of venue for getting the Chest of Fortune. Definitely not the Fort of the Damned. I hate that place. So don't bring it back there. But otherwise, I like the idea of playing around with the fort vault loot, and but am not sure about uncoupling the Chest of Fortune from a specific event.
Yeah, I like the idea too, but it all depends on the loot. It will be good loot, will be bad loot, will be minimum basic loot, or will be like as much loot as they can cram in there without causing some stir. But yeah, I like the idea.
My thought has always been that the Fort of Fortune should always have a Chest of Fortune, but if they want to make it randomly spawn in other world events, I think that's a great idea, because that's only going to promote people actually doing world events.
I do not disagree with Shu at all. That's kind of what I was going to say. How many times have we sailed around and there's so many world events that are just up there for 30 minutes at a time? Nobody wants to do them because people like me, I have the accommodations knocked out for all that stuff already, so it's kind of unnecessary for me to do them unless I'm just looking to make some decent gold. So the fact that any world event could potentially have a Chest of Fortune in it, like a 50-50 chance that it spawns when you beat it, would bring lots of life back to world event.
Yes, I what you said, I like that a lot. It should be a rarer spawn though, so like a 10% chance sort of spawn, outside of a Fort of Fortune, which should always have it.
Right.
Yeah,
The Fort of Fortune would always have it because, it's in the name. But other world events potentially also having it, yeah, we'll come up with the percentage that it could be there, but it would drive me to go, hey, let's just go knock out that Ashen Lord. There's a 40% chance that we might be able to get a Chest of Fortune out of it.
And even if they wanted to kind of balance it out a little bit and lower the spawn rate of the Fort of Fortune to make it seem like the Chest of Fortune isn't as easy to get as it might seem like it would be if you put it in the Chest of Fortune or in the Fort of Fortune and every other world event possibly, that's fine. I can't tell you how many times we dive to Hourglass battles and before we're coming up, we hear that lovely dong and, oh, there's a Fort of Fortune on this server. Wonder if we want to do that after we finish this fight.
I actually feel differently about that because I feel like the Fort of Fortune never spawns because the blade's always up. But now that they've kind of nerfed the blade a little bit, it'll be interesting to see if the Fort of Fortune will be up more often.
So one of the things that I wanted to toss out to y'all is kind of a thought here and see if you agree, if you disagree, and reasons why. The Fort of Fortune to me is just a harder fort than a standard skeleton fort. And while I think that the Chest of Fortune is something that should be in there on a constant basis, I'm okay with them taking it out of there and offering it as a chance for there, but also for all the other ones. But instead, we have all of these raid items for all of the different factions, and having to get all of those, maybe something that a fair few of you may have already completed. So, bear with me. I'm thinking of everyone that's not done with their commendations, but offering something worthy of the name. Fortune is just kind of indiscriminate, but it just means a wealth of items. I've liked the idea that whatever the Fort of Fortune is, it is harder and offers better rewards than a standard skeleton fort, which it already does. But having something that offers items that are more difficult to come by, because in my mind, if you're going for specific raid loot, you're just going to dive to that. And that is going to have specific faction or trade company loot for it. And as you go, or you see if you were to see a regular world event, there's no way of knowing what kind of loot pool that's going to have, because it could be one that somebody threw up as a dive to raid, or it could just be a naturally spawning one. But I think with the Fort of Fortune, if that is something that's as rare as, say, like a 3-hour time frame where it spawns every 3 hours, then it's something that's on top of like other world events. I would love for there to be a Fort of Fortune that literally can spawn in the middle of an Ashen Winds. And then you have to try and think, what am I going to do? Am I going to risk ditching this Ashen Winds to go get the Fort of Fortune, which is a guaranteed chest of fortune? Or am I going to stick it out with the Ashen Winds, try and get that complete, see if I can get there, and then try to get that turned in and head over to the Fort of Fortune before someone else gets that complete? I know that was a lot, so if you guys have any questions or if you want me to say anything again, let me know, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
So to clarify, you're saying Fort of Fortune should spawn independent of the other world events?
Yes, and have more treasure than any of the other world events. Truly be a Fort of Fortune.
Yes.
Anyone else agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think so. So thinking about the Fort of the Damned, where you actually have to activate it, and it could be up at any given point, I kind of agree that the Fort of Fortune should be an independent thing and include a lot of loot. So that gives people an opportunity to all go to it when it spawns at that point. Yeah, I like that idea.
I think that it is diluting like the congregation points where people are drawn to, that sort of thing. Just like, I want this Ashen Winds, and that Fort of Fortune's up, so I can just ignore. So people are going to go there, so I'm going to go for the easier loot at the Ashen Winds. When you kind of you just want more people to be drawn to one location at a time, is my thinking.
Good point. Static, I know you had some thoughts. You want to jump in?
I'm very conflicted right now in my head on good or bad. So I'm just going to not give an answer on this one because I can't definitively answer myself whether or not I agree or disagree.
That's fair as well. I know it's a lot to say, because it's, I think honestly, given the difficulty of a Fort of Fortune compared to other world events, with Ashen Winds, you don't have to compete with nearly as many skeletons. With the Fort of Fortune, you have skeleton captains, skeleton lords, and an ashen lord to contend with. So it's going to take longer. It's going to be harder, and there's a much more distinct time frame for when those spawn that is going to cause people to kind of perk up and notice when those go off. Having a chest of fortune in there all the time, I think, would help guarantee that people would be going after them. I think that the chances of having a chest of fortune in other world events should be kind of on the same level as the Voyage of Luck. I think the Voyage of Luck has seen a lot of success, that people will do them. It's rare to get one, and when you get one, you hope that you get a lucky one, and if you get a lucky one, you're really happy to get it. Same thing with the chest of fortune. I think that should be kind of on par, so that you feel like, oh yay, this regular skeleton fort that we did just happened to have a chest of fortune. Boon to us.
That luck voyage is probably one of the coolest things that they've incorporated into the game for a while. It's simple, it's easy, and you have a low chance of getting the golden map. And we did receive the golden map once, And I'll tell you what, we jumped around like a bunch of giddy little schoolgirls because we're like, oh my God, we got it. And we just, the whole time we're watching our backs while digging this up because you're digging up 15 different spots. And it's like the best chest of everything in the game that's in those 15 spots. But I think they should put that quest on the board because that board is completely useless. So make it a daily board quest. Like you can go to that board once a day to get a luck voyage and make it like a 5% chance that you get the golden one then.
That'd be interesting. What do you guys think about taking the Voyage of Luck and making it a message in the bottle and sticking that in the Fort of Fortune?
Once again, yes. I think anything that you can do to make the Fort of Fortune a true Fort of Fortune, where it seems like we have to at least try to get this when it pops, would be huge.
I just want to jump in to bang on once more in saying that you can fix the bounty board or the quest board with one simple trick. One simple trick. You put a little flag like a mailbox up telling you when there are player-generated quests on the board. That's it. That's all you need to do. It doesn't have to be like a fancy flag. Just put a little red flag that pops up saying, that tells you there are player-generated quests on this board. That's it, and people will interact with it more.
I can tell you from my childhood growing up and going to multiple Mexican restaurants that had little flags on tables that you could raise. It always worked for me when I wanted more chocolate milk, and I could just raise the little flag. So I'm in favor of this flag system for the message boards. One thing I did want to jump in, and actually, Static, I don't want to cut you off. So if you've got something, jump in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just real quick. Putting a golden bottle in the Fort of Fortune that is guaranteed the luck voyage, that would be great because that's not something you can steal and run away with. Whatever crew grabs that first, it's then locked to that crew. So you might have people that will be running into this fort just to steal that bottle.
I would love to get a beat on this. Does anyone else feel like those messages in a bottle should be physical items that you have to go and take over to your captain's table and actually put on the table itself? I always feel like I wish I could grab a message in a bottle and, for one, weapon, for two, give it to someone else, or for three, just leave it somewhere else, or drop it in the water and watch people watch it float off and do its own. Am I alone in that?
I genuinely never thought about that.
I didn't either.
I'm the only one that wants to use this as a weapon. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Apparently.
Okay. So therapy on the docket.
Great. Another accommodation being added to the game. Start a bar fight.
Oh, God, that sounds amazing. Smash it. You lose the map, but you get a bottle weapon.
And it has to be in a tavern. We're just going to put the coincidental things against all the accommodations still.
Yeah.
Oh, now we're waiting for spawn camping. Now we're waiting for spawn camping. Some poor idiot wakes up in the tavern, gets a bottle smashed on their head, falls back down, server hop.
As long as the tavern keep always comments on it, and it only has to be like a really, and then just leave it at that. Before I wanted to switch topics real quick because there's one more important thing that came in with this update that we have not addressed, and I feel like it's kind of it would be really sad if we didn't talk about this because I know, given who's here, it's an important topic. Pigs are now available to buy. You can now have a pet pig. A-Check beat me to the punch. She bought hers, named it Oscar. I bought mine, named it Meyer. I'm curious if anyone else has gotten the pig.
Yes.
And what did you name it?
I didn't even log into the game. I just went straight to the Pirate Emporium and I bought the brown pig with the black spot on its eye. I don't remember which one that one is now.
That's the one.
Truffle pig.
I got the truffle
Yes,
pig
the
as
truffle
well.
pig.
It's adorable.
So the truffle pig actually has significance for me. I play a lot of D&D, and in one of our campaigns, we were experimenting with a third party where you can have pets that follow you around. And the pet that I picked for this campaign was a war pig. And when it first starts out, it's a little baby pig. and then it just progresses the more you work with it, and it gets older and bigger and stuff like that. Well, this pig was primarily used to find truffles for my character to sell to make gold, and I named my pig Junior. So right away when I got into this, I bought the pig, the truffle pig, and I named it Junior, and that's where we have it. So now I just have my pet pig running everywhere. And I will honestly say my whole clamoring for Crystal Pigs started out as a funny joke, and now it's becoming a reality, and now I'm at the point to where I demand that we get the crystal curse whatever for the pig. You know, like they already have special unique animals in Emporium. Give me a crystallized version, Rare, and you will not hear me talk about it ever again on this podcast other than to say thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's, I mean, we are literally one step away from me getting this thing that I've been complaining about on all the shows.
Next after that is kilts. So, you know, just keep that in mind, Rare. Regis.
No. Next is ducks.
Ducks? I'd never considered ducks.
What? You can get ducks as pets, like pigs, but, you know, I mean, now the possibility of cows is going to be on the horizon, I guess.
How are we feeling
I
about
don't know.
how's everyone else feeling about ducks? Are we going in on ducks after this?
Boo.
To each their
I think
own,
that's
I guess.
reaching. That's reaching, I think.
As I said, as a joke.
I mean, Crystal Pig was a joke not that long ago. We're really close.
Fair enough.
We have
Fair enough.
red celestial cats in the Emporium right now. Crystal Pig is not off the table.
Yes, but next time we'll be asking for something else ridiculous.
I mean, I still want the dodo. Like we've seen that the model is in the game for the dodo. Like bring the dodos into the world. Also, has anyone seen jellyfish? I have not seen jellyfish yet.
Next month.
Is it next month? Okay.
Next month. Ambient creatures come next month.
Okay. Yeah. So we're getting lizards. We're getting rats on barrels. We're getting jellyfish. I like that they're bringing more wildlife to the world. I think a lot of us have kind of always wondered how come there aren't like porpoises and stuff sailing with you or, swimming with your ship. Other just kind of ambient life. So things like in like variety of life that we have too, like hammerhead sharks and like orcas or whales, general other creatures that live in the sea. It's always felt so very barren, and you could always explain that away with like the sirens or the merfolk or something like that, trying to keep them safe or scaring them away. But I do like that we are getting more of that. We are getting the hunting spear later on in the game at some point, and we're also getting boars to hunt. So at the moment, I do kind of want to wrap things up and get a general like a grade or, like a score, like A, B, C, D, or E. How are you all feeling about the Hunter's Call to kind of kick things off for season 15?
I'm feeling good about it. The last Gold Hoarder podcast we had, I had mentioned releasing the season in increments, and that's what they're doing. So I'm actually kind of happy about that. So yeah, I'll probably give it a B.
Sounds good. Godhammer, can you put a letter to it?
I'm not going to put a letter to it until it's all out. I'm really liking what I'm seeing thus far. I did want to point out one thing that I think is significant that was overlooked. Your trap inventory is now separate from your throwables, so you can now equip 2 traps along with your 5 throwables. And this is significant. Because if you see somebody coming at you in the water, say you're chasing somebody, you see them coming, you now have time to pull out a trap to take a guess at which side they're coming up on, throw a trap down. If you have an Eye of Reach out, you can shoot them while they're coming up the ladder. They step off, they step into the trap, kills them.
I'm going to have to try that. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yes. So you can now hold 2 traps along with all your throwables. So that's a top tip for everyone. But otherwise, I'm not gonna throw a letter grade until it's all out, until it's all their planned performance changes have been done, till the ambience creatures are out, till we get the Megalodon voyages and so on. I'll wait until that's done to get a letter grade void on it, but liking what I'm seeing thus far.
Sounds good. Regis, what do you think?
I'm gonna do what Godhammer says. Just wait until the season's fully out, see how it performs, see how the other mechanics work. Until then, I'll just wait until the season comes out before I give my full rating on the season.
Alrighty. Well, I was kind of hoping for like early impressions. If you had you can always adjust it later on if you want. Shu, what do you think?
So I'll go off the beaten path here. I think it's an A+. The game feels more alive. People are interacting more, and I know that the beginning of most seasons have been like this, and then it kind of tapers off. But I feel like with the incremental release that they're doing, it leaves enough to where, okay, I can do this for a month, and the new stuff comes out next month, and then we start right back over, versus having this front-loaded, everybody plays at the beginning of the season, and then tapers off towards the end. I think this is going to keep people engaged. I'm really loving the new Megs. As somebody who never cared about fishing, I do like the fishing voyages. It's fun, and I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Static, what do you think? If you want to give it a grade, you can. If you don't, definitely understand as well.
We're going to treat this like midterm papers. We're going to give it a grade right now, a standing grade, and that's going to be an A-. It's good. It's bringing a lot of life in, as in every time I log into the game, there's really no other emissaries currently running around right now other than hunters. The minus part of it, though, is still kind of the slight glitching with the new megalodons, like not counting stuff like that. But as of right now, for a midterm, it's getting an A-, and it's there so far. So we'll see what the final grade is at the end of the year.
Sounds good. I personally am kind of landing in on it's kind of a B+ for me. It's like right between an A- and a B+. I am very happy with how they've kind of introduced this. I think they've done a good job kind of starting us out with some commendations to work towards. Small bugs with menu issues, with a little bit of server stutter. It feels better, but it's still not quite there. The confusion behind pigs having costumes that are not available, the curses being a little unsure of like how to obtain those, if we can obtain those yet or not. Having certain things where like how do you be able to see the megs? There's no real good indicator on how to determine like where you see the megalodons that people want to go for. Couple that with a couple of the bugs that they have where you have to get the killing blow to get the commendation progression for Big Red and Barney. Makes me feel like they came real close to landing this without a hitch. But I think there are just a couple little things that have kind of stood in the way of giving this a straight A. I think the content that they've put in has been well thought through, and that they've done a good job of kind of bringing stuff together. And I want to see what the rest of the Hunter's Call will look like at the end of the season 15. But to start with, I think they've done a really good job. I can't wait for them to nail it with the rest of the content. Godhammer, did you have some thoughts?
Yeah, just one final thought. Food for thought for folks. It is the start of the season. Everybody's engaging with the Hunter's Call. You're seeing a bunch of Hunter's Call emissaries out there right now. Reaper's Bones got two commendations. As an emissary, sell 25 plundered Hunter's Call emissary flags to the Reaper's Bones, and then sell 5 grade 5 plundered Hunter's Call emissary flags to the Reaper's Bones. So there is no better time to get on that commendation than right now, if you are so inclined.
Quick clarifier for you, if you can help me out with. Do you have to be a Reaper emissary to turn those in?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I will offer some my 2 cents. I've been holding on to my 2 cents all this whole podcast. I'll throw my 2 cents into the well here. Anytime you go hunting for a Meg, if you come up across a crew that is working on it as well, do not let them get it. Sink them. Let the Megalodon do most of the work, but sink them before the Megalodon is dead. Kill the Megalodon so you get commendation progress. Take their level 5 flag. Head over to Reapers. Or head over to an outpost, drop your flag, raise the Reaper, turn it in, and you get both benefits. You get the loot from the Megalodon, you get that at rank 5. drop your flag, throw up a Reaper, turn in their flag, and then go back to Hunter's Call. What do you think?
Whatever works.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, pirates. That's going to do it for this episode of the Keelhauled Gold Hoarders. Thank you for joining me. It is 1 day past the 7th anniversary of Keelhauled. I started this podcast 7 years ago as of yesterday. It has been amazing to see like what the podcast has become, how it's grown and changed and evolved over time, just like the Sea of Thieves. And it's all the better for having folks like yourselves jumping in with me to chat about Sea of Thieves, to get some real good thoughts and opinions. I always appreciate having you here every month, and I look forward to seeing what next month is going to hold in store as we get a little bit deeper into season 15. So as we are heading out, I will call you out if you guys have anything you want to say or shout out, or anyone that you want to say thanks to, more than welcome to. Starting off with the top. So A-Chick, we're heading out. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you as always. And anything you want to call out or shout out?
No, just thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what season 15 will bring.
Thank you. Awesome. Godhammer, we're heading out. Anything you want to shout out or say?
Just big ups to my crewmates, Rainbow Sam, Wailing Witch, and Tengu. Best, no other crew I'd rather sail with at any time. Yeah, I called you all out. There you go. But happy anniversary to your podcast. Happy anniversary to my favorite Monday morning podcast. You get me through a lot of early morning Mondays. I'm happy it's here.
Happy to have it out for you. I'm glad that I can help with your Mondays. Regis, we are heading out, sir. Anything you want to shout out or say?
Just a happy anniversary to you, Logan, for 7 years of the podcast, and to also, for those new, continuously promoting not my quest, but the forum quest that I've been following a lot recently. Like, it's called The Blood Runs Cold, Warhammer Fantasy Vampire Pirate Quest. So it's basically like, kind of like a game, but it's on a forum, hence the term forum quest. And it's set during the Warhammer Fantasy franchise, where you play as a vampire pirate trying to become the most famous and wealthiest pirate in the entirety of the Warhammer world. And no, Godhammer is not a part of it. I'm just happen to be, promoting this from somebody else, and really do like it. I love the humor, I love the story, I love the grind, the whole thing, just starting from nothing and building up your pirate fleet. So yeah, this is pretty cool. If you want to look at it, I'll put it in the Gold Hoarder channel Gold Hoarder channel.
Awesome. Appreciate it as always. And yeah, definitely. I'll go ahead and throw the link in the show notes for anyone that's interested in checking out Vampire Warhammer. Shu, we're heading out. First time, long time, joining us for the first Gold Hoarder episode. Thank you. Anyone you want to shout out or say, or anything you want to pass along?
Yeah, just super happy to be here. Appreciate you guys having me. Big ups to my guys in Magnus Pater and my two main crewmates, Crazy Frog and I'm Old Craig.
Very cool. Appreciate the shout outs to the crewmates. Static, we're really close to getting Crystal Pigs. Anything you want to shout out or say as we head out?
Yeah. First off, I would like to bestow upon you a very respectable and honorable golf clap for 7 years of the podcast.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's right, Rare. You are so close to making this truck driver's dream come true of a crystal pig. And secondly, you just now got to bring in the kilts so I can honor the Scottish heritage. That's all.
Awesome. Well, fam, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it as always. And I look forward to next month when we get to sit down again and kind of see how things are going and how things are panning out, where everyone's kind of fallen with the rest of the season as we kind of get further and further into what I feel like is the turning point for Rare, coming off of a very long, arduous couple of years of not really feeling like the quality or the attention was given. It feels like Drew is become quite a very prominent figurehead for the team. And I look forward to hearing more and more from him and seeing where Sea of Thieves goes as we get closer and closer. Next month is going to be their 7th anniversary. So kind of serious stuff there. So I wonder if they're going to be doing anything about it. And we will probably get a chance to talk about it right as it is happening. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an ear out for more podcast episodes coming. And Pirates, thank you And I love you. And let's get back on the seas.